Hello, and welcome to Just 5 Minutes in Acts, short little 5-minute studies and reflections from the New Testament book called the Acts of the Apostles. Well, since this is the first one, some introductions are in order. I'm Clay Brown, Associate Pastor for Equipping Ministries at Memorial Drive Presbyterian Church, Houston, Texas. As a church, we are studying the book of Acts in a study that we call Sent by Love. You see the poster behind me. But maybe you're not equipped, geared for a 45-minute or hour-long Bible study. Maybe all you have is 5 minutes. Well, this series is for you. Every week we will take 5 minutes from the book of Acts and talk about one thought we get from it and then one implication about that thought. And by implication I mean, if the thought's on target, this is what it means for your life and mine. Well, you may be wondering about my attire, my academic or pulpit robe. What, you don't put one on when you get home to relax? I don't get it. Let me explain. I'm a minister in the Presbyterian and Reformed tradition, and we've always put a great deal of emphasis on the life of the mind and on pastors being prepared and trained for pastoral ministry. I like what the robe symbolizes, that pastors are both educated and educators. And this robe is a doctoral robe, and you need to know that I come by it honestly. I didn't just find it at the supply house. I do have an earned PhD in philosophy and apologetics, and my dissertation, for the record, was on the work of C.S. Lewis as compared to postmodern philosophers Derrida, Foucault, Rorty, and Fish. I know. That and a buck will get you a soft drink from the machine down the hall. Well, enough of that. Let's get on to the verse. I want to read Acts chapter 1, verse 1 from the New Living Translation. In my first book I told you, Theophilus, about everything Jesus began to do and teach. Well, here we meet two very important people, the author of Acts and the initial reader of Acts. Well, who's the author? The text doesn't say, but Christian history and tradition almost unanimously affirms that it's Luke, the author of the gospel that bears his name. In fact, this verse does tell us that it's a 2-volume set. That the first volume, the Gospel of Luke, is about the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. And the second volume, the one we're looking at, the book of Acts, is about the growth of the early Christian movement as it goes from Jerusalem to the ends of the known earth. And for the book of Acts, that's the headquarters for the Roman Empire, Rome. Well, who's the initial reader? It is listed here in the text. Theophilus is the name, and in first century Greek that means friend of God. Now, if you can 100% identify just who Theophilus is, then you win the prize, you write the book, you go on tour. A lot of debate about Theophilus. Some people think it's a literary device that Luke has invented so that all those who read will believe that they can become friends of God. Others believe that Theophilus was a real person, perhaps a person of means, perhaps a person who worked in the Roman government, that Luke is attempting to lead and guide into trusting Jesus Christ as Lord and professing Him and becoming part of the Christian community. You know, you can go either way on this. It's not the ditch you want to die in. I lean toward that Theophilus was a real person, but you can choose the literary figure if you want to be wrong. I love being snarky. No, that's a very good option as well with a lot of merit to it. Okay, well, if who wrote it and who reads it first are together the first thought, then what is the implication for today? Simply this. How do you become a friend of God? Well, you don't become a friend of God by your good intentions, your good thoughts, your good deeds. We become friends of God by trusting in Jesus Christ, committing to Him as Lord, and committing to what the Holy Spirit is doing in us, continuing to do in us. What I mean, what Jesus has done for us, He died on the cross for us. He rose from the dead for us. What the Holy Spirit is doing, the presence and power of God's Spirit within us to transform us and shape us into following Christ as Lord consistently. Well, it's God's work, in other words, not yours or mine, and we get to respond to what God is doing by faith. So let me encourage you, if you're not already one, become a friend of God. Trust and commit to Jesus Christ as Lord. Well, that's it for now. Next time we'll take up Acts chapter 1, verses 1 through 5, a thought from there as we get going with our study in earnest. Thank you for being with me. God bless you. Take care. See you next time.